And welcome everybody to Mock Draft Mondays. We are through with the combine. Pro days are around the corner. We're in the middle of March. It's a great time to start doing our weekly mock draft series. And with something you'll be very familiar with, Fernando Mendoza going number one to the Raiders. If anything else besides that happens, I will be absolutely shocked. That just makes the most sense. They need a quarterback. He's the best one on the board. They have pick number one. Just pretty much stamp it at this point. Pick number two with the Jets is where the draft really seems to get started. Arvell Reese, David Bailey, they could use all of these guys really. Like they really just need some help on the defensive side of the ball after getting 0 interceptions last year. I'm going to go ahead and give them Ruben Bain. I know Arvell Reese has had an incredible combine. I think Ruben Bain, they're going to look at him like this is arguably our safest pick. He was dominant. His arm length was good enough that we're going to give them Ruben Bain, just the best rusher on the board on paper. At pick number 3, the Arizona Cardinals can go literally anywhere because they need all of it. They need a ton of help across the board. They just need a talent infusion outside of tight end, really. This is where I'm going to go ahead and give them Arvell Reese. Could come off the edge, could be versatile. I think offense they're really thinking about. I think they're a real candidate to trade back as I look at some of these guys, but we're going to give them Arvell Reese, arguably the best player left on the board. Tennessee pick number 4, David Bailey and Bob Saleh. That's like a match made in heaven. They need to be able to get after C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, and whoever the Colts decide to trot out there, I suppose. They need some help on the defensive side, but I do look at the offense with Cam Ward. They want to give him the best chance to succeed. Saleh knows exactly what it's like, what a good offensive line and a strong left tackle like Trent Williams could do. And I don't think Francis Moyaga is Trent Williams, but he is very, very good in the best tackle in the draft. So that's where I think they will go to try and help shore up Cam Ward's blind side and give him the best chance to succeed. The Giants are once again in a familiar position. Kayvon Thibodeaux, Abdul Carter, and now David Bailey falling right into their laps at around pick number 5. I don't think they will go that direction because, well, you can't just keep it at this point. It'd be redundant. Jeremiah Love would be very, very interesting to pair with Cam Scadaboo and crew. There were rumors they were interested in Kenneth Walker, but I don't think they're quite ready to take a running back. And Sonny Styles, the suggestion I think is spot on right here. He was so unbelievably athletic and did such a great job at the combine, and he showed a lot of it on tape. I think this is where we'll see a linebacker go in the top 5 for the first time in what feels like been a while, just an off-ball linebacker who can also rush the passer. Pick number 6, Cleveland Browns. They need everything, really, but I think they're going to look at the board and be like, we're not going to take Jeremiah Love. We're good at running back. Caleb Downs would be a very good pick here, but David Bailey is arguably on some boards. He will be edge number 1. You pair him with Myles Garrett coming off the sack record. Yeah, they're going to take that. They're going to get after it. They might not score a lot of points with their quarterback situation, but they will get after other quarterbacks with those two. Washington at pick number 9. I have a hard time seeing them turn down Caleb Downs. I look at they could use all of these. I think Jeremiah Love with Jaden Daniels would be an awesome fit. It's really, really tempting, but I am going to go ahead and give them Caleb Downs. I think they're just going to take the best defensive player on the board that Dan Quinn can have a lot of fun with. Next up, pick number 8, New Orleans. Carnell Tate makes a lot of sense. They've invested a lot in the offensive line the last couple of years with some of their early picks. I think they're going to look more to their aging defense and try and boost there. So I think Mansour Delane could be a very good pick here. Maybe a touch early, but I think they're just going to look. We need to get some takeaways in this division. You have quarterbacks that will give you opportunities with Baker or Bryce Young, whether it's Tua Penix or Michael Tagovailoa, whoever's playing for the Falcons. They're going to look to get some takeaways and shore up the secondary. Pick number 9, Kansas City Chiefs. Up until they signed Jeremiah Love, or until they signed K9, Jeremiah Love looked like a perfect fit here. I don't think that they always aren't going to go that direction now. It opens things up. The suggestions really are highlighting receiver. I don't see them taking any of these guys at pick number 9. What I could see them doing, though, is something that'll terrify a lot of people, maybe a bit of a reach. But Kenyon Sadiq, they saw that 40, they saw that athleticism, they saw what he did at Oregon. He can block on top of it. Pairing him with Travis Kelce for a year before taking the reins, not going to miss a beat. That's going to scare a lot of – the middle of the field is going to be terrified in the AFC. Pick number 10, the Cincinnati Bengals. Boy, they just missed out on Caleb Downs, David Bailey, and a few of those guys I think they would have really liked. Falcon Mesidor would make a lot of sense here. Corners, Jermod McCoy, they just barely missed on a lot of players I think would have made a ton of sense. I think they will reach a little on Kendrick Falk. It'll be kind of like Shamar Stewart 2.0. They're going to be like, all right, we're going to double down on these very athletic, very gifted edge players that just need that maybe a little refinement. They could be absolutely awesome. So I think they're going to go in that direction again. Miami at pick 11 literally needs everything on the board. Spencer Fano is still there. need to help offensively. I don't want to say they're in a soft tank, but they're built interestingly. We'll say that. With Malik Willis, I think they will go ahead and look ahead to we roll with Malik Willis or and give him weapons. If it's just a bridge quarterback, then we're going to make sure our next quarterback that they might be tanking for next year is set. Carnell Tate makes a little bit of sense here, so we're going to get that to where to go. There's a lot of weird ways they could go here. Pick number 12, I know they resigned Javonte Williams, but I think they're going to go all in on the light show offensively. Jeremiah Love is sitting there. They're not going to overthink it. They're going to go in and take the star running back from Notre Dame. George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Dak, Ferguson at tight end, Javonte and Jeremiah Love in the backfield. They did invest in Quinn Williams at the trade deadline last year, Rashawn Gary in the offseason. They're going to basically play just enough defense to where they could do whatever they want offensively. So Jeremiah Love to the Cowboys. Pick number 13, the Rams. They need some help. They did do a good job rebuilding that secondary with guys like Trent McDuffie as well. I could really see Dylan Tienneman coming in there and giving them a little more versatility at safety. Edge, Akeem Mesidor would be good here. Offensive line, Spencer Fano would give them a lot. I think Kendrick Sadiq is also a very live option here, even though they have a lot. They're very good. They're very good at tight end. Makai Lemon, though. You put him in there with Puka and with Devontae, that could be something for sure. I think that we're to go interior offensive line. I think they're going to go with the not really pretty pick. They're just going to try and keep Matthew Stafford 100% up and alive. So we're going to give him Ione, probably the best interior offensive lineman. Just the goal is for get room for Kyren Williams and keep Matthew Stafford upright. So the Rams with a not sexy first-round pick, but a very effective one. Baltimore pick number 14. They surprisingly could use a lot. They shouldn't have this pick. It should be the Raiders picking, but I digress. We won't go there. Makai Lemon's really good. I think he fits a lot of what they do. I think him and Zay Flowers do a lot of similar things, but I think they can play off of each other. So I'm going to give him Makai Lemon, just another weapon for Lamar, who they're going to have to extend. Defensively spent a lot bringing in Trey Hendrickson, so I say in the draft they're going to go a little more towards the offense. Pick number 15, Tampa Bay. They need some help in the secondary, I believe. I do think they really could just use some help defensively across the board. So we're going to give him Jermod McCoy, best cornerback on the board out of Tennessee. Some people have him as cornerback 1 in the draft. I think they can line him up. Todd Bowles will have a lot of fun there. They need to get some takeaways, and that with Bryce Young, we talked about this kind of with the Saints. They need to get some takeaways. I think that's going to be the difference maker in that division is who could take the ball away the best. Pick number 16, the New York Jets, courtesy of the Indianapolis Colts. Once again, kind of in the same vein of they could use literally everything on the board. They did not get any takeaways last year, hardly. They went edge early, so I could see them they went edge early on, so I could see them going after corner in this one just to really shore up the defense. They need some help offensively still. This is a very prime trade back opportunity. Ty Simpson is right there. I think they'd prefer to trade back and then maybe get Ty Simpson later, but since we're not using that as an option. We're going to go ahead and give them actually Spencer Fano. They're going to build in the trenches. They're going to take the edge rusher early. They're going to take Spencer Fano here. They're going to just try and build an infrastructure so whoever they do have at quarterback when they're ready, they will be good to go. Similar to what Detroit did, who was picking next. They built between drafting Penei Sewell. They skipped out on quarterback a lot to build around it, then had Jared Goff kind of plug and play for him. I think the Jets will do similar. We know Aaron Glenn came from Detroit, so Detroit offensive line is key right now. Monroe Freeling, I think they wanted Spencer Fano to drop there. They need offensive line help right now. They got old, retired. They kind of disappeared really quickly, which was the strength of their team for those couple of years where they were absolutely outstanding. So offensive line, they continue to build. Dan Campbell likes a rough in the trenches. Number 18, Minnesota Vikings. I'm thinking Dylan Tienneman might be the pick here. I know they have him highlighted. I think you got to replace Harrison Smith. I'll leave out the obviousness there, but they need just more help in that secondary. Brought in Kyler to help with the offense, hopefully. We're going to give Brian Flores a very, very gifted safety at Dylan Tienneman. Pick number 19, the Carolina Panthers. Boy, did they invest on the defensive side of the ball. Devin Lloyd, Jalen Phillips. I can see them bringing in Akeem Mesidor as well, give Derek Brown some help on the front line. They do have some really good corners too, so I don't think they're too worried about corner. Receiver could be help, but they have invested a lot in receiver. I do like Akeem Mesidor. Peter Woods would be a good spot here as well. We're going to go ahead and go with Akeem Mesidor, though, the quote-unquote other Miami edge who also can really get after it. Pair him with Jalen Phillips, really enough a Miami edge as well. So they're going to continue to load up on their defensive side. Dallas Cowboys at pick number 20. They did kind of go with the splash play at Jeremiah Love early. I think interior offensive line and offensive tackle are very much live here. They do a really good job at drafting offensive linemen in the first round, but I do look at the defensive side of the ball. They know they need some help there. They especially need some help in the secondary. Colton Hood is really good. No Ryan Force. Avian Terrell is definitely the pick here. I think they'll take the best corner on the board after letting one go early. Pittsburgh at 21. Jordan Tyson probably would have been the pick if I did this a week ago. But the trade to bring in Michael Pittman to go with DK Metcalf, I think they won't go too deep into the weeds there. I think they'll still kind of do what they normally do and not take receiver early here. Denzel Boston, they really want them to take one here. They really want a receiver as a suggestion. This is a spot where they take Peter Woods because they like to load up on the defensive side. But with Mike McCarthy there as well, we're going to go a little bit outside the box. I'm going to give him Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle from Alabama. Broderick Jones and just they've invested a lot in the offensive line to try and let it not be a mess, and I think they're going to continue to do that. So whoever is playing quarterback, whether it's Will Howard, Aaron Rodgers, or whether they pull a bunny out of the hat, we're going to go and stick with theirs. So they're going to continue to build an offensive line to try and keep whoever the quarterback is upright and give them some opportunities. Chargers, Carnell Tate would have been a great fit here just to give another deep threat for Justin Herbert, someone who could really stretch the field with Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, and crew. Kendrick Sadiq, we know how much that Harbaugh loves the tight ends. They've been really quiet on the defensive side. I like Peter Woods. I like Caleb Banks. They could both really get after it. Defensive back, they could use some help too. Peter Woods was projected to be a really early pick before the draft. He did slip a little this year, but I could see Harbaugh looking at thinking we had that much potential on our defense to bring him in on our defensive line. I like Peter Woods here. I think it's kind of a very clear, very clean pick. I think it makes a lot of sense for what they need. Philadelphia pick 23. Offensive line still very much alive. I think they're getting a little bit older. Caleb Lemieux, Blake Miller, interior offensive lineman, Emmanuel Pergon. Defensive line, they could use some of the help too with some of the guys leaving. Cassius Howell, TJ Parker. Safety, you did lose Reed Blankenship. They're interesting. They're another one I could really see them trading back, that's for sure. CJ Allen, but you did just bring John Campbell last year, so they might not go there. It's kind of tough because on paper they are really good, but last year was a bit of a letdown for them. So we're going to go with – I really want to stick with edge because that's what they do best. This one's tough. This one's getting to me a little bit, not going to lie. We're going to go with offensive tackle. We're going to give him Caleb Lemieux, the quote-unquote other Utah offensive lineman too, but just an absolute horse to kind of fill in as Lane Johnson gets older, as Jordan Mailata gets a little bit older, etc. Cleveland Browns, pick number 24. I could have seen them taking Jordan Tyson early. They decided to not go that way and go with David Bailey. Denzel Boston is really good. C.J. Allen's really good. I do like Jordan Tyson here, pick number 24. They need weapons. They just need somebody who can catch the ball outside of Harold Fannin. For whoever's playing quarterbacks, that's where we'll go. Bears at pick 25, they need edge help badly. They need defensive line help badly. They need defensive help badly. They could use help at all of the levels. Colton Hood would be a very good pick here. Manuel McNeil Warren would also be a very interesting safety pick. They did bring in Kobe Bryant, so I think pairing up two young safeties since they did lose Brisker and Kevin Byard, they do need help at both levels. I still think they're very much potentially going to try and make a deal for Max Crosby at this point, but as of right now, that's not the case. We're to give them TJ Parker, another of those Clemson defensive linemen that were supposed to go really early in the draft. Not their best season, but I think here that's a very good value pick for them. They just need to get after it. The Bills at 26, trading for DJ Moore. I don't know if they'd necessarily look at Denzel Boston or Kevin Concepcion here. I think they would probably look to either shore up the offensive line or shore up the defense just a touch. Caleb Banks in the middle. They need some help on that defensive line, just stopping the run especially. And then Caleb Banks will do a lot there, so that's where we're going to go with them. San Francisco, pick number 27. Offensive line is very much in play here. That's been in play for the last handful of years. They could go interior or exterior. We'll give him Blake Miller out of Clemson. I like Max as well. I think it's very close, but we'll go and give him Blake, who's slightly higher on the board. They need to build that offensive line. It's gotten old. It's gotten old really quickly. Houston at pick 28, speaking of teams that need to build their offensive line, I'm looking at all of the offensive linemen like they could use all of these guys. They don't need edge help. They don't need corner help. They don't really need defensive help, but I can see them going there. They don't really need receiver help, but Denzel Boston and Concepcion are really good players. Manuel Pergon's also really good. I could see them just going there. We're going to stick with this one. We're going to go with Max as well. I think offensive line, when in doubt, is going to be a strong pick for a lot of them. Kansas City, the suggestion is kind of on the same page here. Denzel Boston, Concepcion, I think are both really, really good picks here. I think Andy Reid's going to look at Concepcion back. We could have a lot of fun with that. We're worried about Rashee Rice, who just can't seem to not be in trouble. So we're going to go with Kevin Concepcion, someone who could potentially be that receiver one, move him all over the field type of receiver for him, which is going to now leave Denver at pick number 30. Denzel Boston does feel like a Sean Payton type of receiver for sure. I like that CJ Allen pick, though. I really do. That defensively, they were awesome, but the linebacker spot, there was some void. So I do actually like the CJ Allen suggestion here. Now at 31, New England, I know they like edge. They invested a lot on the defensive side. Denzel Boston to go with Romeo Doubs. Go with some of those other young receivers, Kayshon Boutte. I don't hate this idea with Denzel Boston being here, so that's where we're going to go with New England. They're going to add another receiver for Drake May. Then Seattle, at the end of the draft, pick number 32. Probably we're kind of hoping that Jeremiah Love would be here. You did lose some corner help. Colton Hood makes all the sense in the world right here. Best corner left on the draft board. Safety's pretty solid, but I think one of these guys would make the most sense. We're going to give him Colton Hood. So that's our very first mock draft Monday here. We'll be back next week with another one with some different moves, different trades, different things that will happen. Let us know down below what picks you like, what picks you don't like, and what picks you think will be made instead. And we'll see you all again next week.